Jack Turner was closing the medic bay after a long shift. His eyes were heavy and his back hurt from lifting supply crates all day. The outpost was quiet at night, silent like a place that had forgotten how to breathe. Only the weak hum of the machines filled the air. Jack liked this hour. No patients, no supervisors, no noise, just peace. He walked toward the door, ready to go home when he heard something soft behind him, a voice, but not a human voice. Jack turned slowly. At first, he thought he was dreaming. A small figure stood near the counter, thin, shaking, wearing clothes that looked older than she was. Her skin had a faint silver tone, and her eyes were big, bright, and filled with fear. She looked like she had walked across a desert of pain. She was an alien child, no older than 9. And in her hands, she held a toy. A tiny stuffed animal, torn at the ear, patched in many places. It was clearly her only treasure. Jack's breath stopped in his chest. Aliens were not allowed inside human medical areas. Not even near the door. Strict rules. Strong punishments. Everyone knew that. But the girl stepped closer. She placed the toy on the counter and spoke in broken English. Please. I trade. I need painkillers. My mother, she hurts. Her voice was shaking. Her small hands trembled. Her eyes begged. Jack stared at the toy. It was old, dirty, but carefully loved. A child giving away her only toy meant only one thing. Who let you in here? Jack whispered. No one, she said. I hide. I run. I come here because humans have real medicine. Jack's stomach twisted. He knew aliens in the mining zone had hard lives, but he never imagined it was this bad. He noticed bruises on the girl's arm, deep purple marks that looked fresh. Someone had hit her hard. Who did this to you? He asked quietly. She looked down. The overseers. They punish us? They say medicine is only for workers who obey. My mother could not work today, so they left her in pain. Jack clenched his fist. He hated the overseers' cruel alien faction that controlled the mining camps. But he didn't know the humans were allowing this level of suffering before he could speak again. A soft beep echoed from the ceiling. Security patrol approaching. Jack's blood ran cold. If the patrol saw this girl here, they would arrest her. And arrest him too. Humans had strict rules about alien interference. Helping her meant breaking the law. Not helping meant letting a child walk back into torture. The girl noticed his fear. She pointed at the toy and whispered, Please? It is all I have. I give it for medicine. Save my mother. Please, human. Please. Jack felt a crack in his heart. This was wrong. All of it. No child should beg like this. No child should trade their happiness just to keep someone alive. Footsteps echoed outside the door. The patrol was close. Jack looked at the toy. The stuffed animal had a tiny stitched smile, as if it had tried to stay happy for its owner. Even in the worst times, how could he ignore this? He looked at the little alien girl, exhausted, scared, and still trying to be brave. He made his choice. Come with me. Now, Jack whispered, grabbing her hand. The girl gasped. You help me? Quiet, he said. Move fast. He turned off the lights and guided her toward the back exit. The patrol footsteps were now only a few meters away. Jack's heart pounded so hard he feared the guards would hear it. The girl clutched her toy tightly. Alarms chirped. A flashlight beam moved across the window. Jack pushed open the back door and pulled her into the darkness. He had officially broken the law, and he knew there was no turning back. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was doing something truly human. Jack moved through the back alley with the alien girl close behind him. Cold night wind touched their faces, and the sound of patrol boots echoed somewhere behind the buildings. Every step felt loud. Every shadow felt dangerous. The girl held her toy tightly against her chest as she followed him. Jack whispered, Stay close. Do not talk. She nodded fast, trying not to cry. They reached an old storage building that humans hardly used anymore. Jack unlocked the small side door with a code only maintenance workers knew. The lights inside were dim and dusty. Old metal boxes were stacked everywhere, and the air smelled like rust. Jack closed the door quietly behind them and locked it. "You'll be safe here for now," he whispered. The girl looked around with wide eyes, like she was standing inside a sacred temple. Her race probably never saw human buildings from the inside. She walked slowly, touching a broken crate gently. Jack sat on a low stool and finally let out a breath he had been holding. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl hesitated, then spoke in her soft, broken voice. "Leary." Jack nodded. "I'm Jack." She touched her bruised arm and winced. Jack noticed the way she tried to hide her pain. She was scared, but she was strong too. Stronger than most adults he had met. "Sit," he said. "Let me look at your injuries." "No," she whispered quickly, stepping back. "Not important. My mother. She is important." Her worry hit Jack harder than her bruises ever could. "Tell me what happened," he said gently. "Don't lie, alright?" I looked down at her toy. Her fingers tightened around it. "The overseers," she began. "They took our medicine weeks ago. They say we must mine more. Work faster. Work harder. If someone gets sick, they say it is weakness." She paused, fighting her tears. "My mother worked until she collapsed. They beat her for slowing down. She cannot move now. She cries from pain. I had to help." Jack felt anger rise in his chest. "Your people don't have doctors?" "We used to," she whispered. "But the overseers killed them. They want us weak. Easier to control." Jack ran his hand through his hair, trying to understand how humans allowed this. Weren't they supposed to monitor the mining zone? Weren't they supposed to protect innocent lives? "How did you get inside the outpost?" he asked. Leary pointed to a small vent-like hatch on the wall. "There is a drain pipe outside. I climbed. I hid under machines. No one saw me." Jack let out a low whistle. "You're brave?" She shook her head. "Just scared." Silence filled the room for a moment. Then Leary stepped closer to him. "Human Jack," she said softly. "Will the soldiers kill me if they find me?" Jack hesitated. He hated lying, but he hated fear more. "They won't find you," he said. "I won't let them." Her eyes softened. For the first time, a tiny spark of trust appeared. Suddenly. Thump, thump, thump. The sound echoed across the walls. Jack's heart stopped. Someone was knocking on the main metal door of the storage building. A deep voice called out, "Maintenance is sector check." "Open up." Jack's blood went cold. This was bad. Very bad. He grabbed Leary gently by the shoulders and guided her behind a stack of crates. "Stay here. Don't move. Don't breathe loud." She hid instantly, curling like a frightened kitten. Jack wiped his hands on his pants, trying to look calm, and walked to the front door. He opened it only a crack. A tall officer stood outside, armored and serious. His scanner was glowing red. "Evening," Jack said casually, though his voice was trembling slightly. "What's going on?" "Patrol detected movement in this area," the officer said. "We're checking for unauthorized activity." Jack forced a lazy shrug. "Just finishing inventory. No one here but me." The officer narrowed his eyes and stepped inside. Jack's pulse jumped. If the officer walked just 10 steps inside, he'd see Leary. The officer scanned the room with a slow, suspicious gaze. Leary held her breath behind the crates. She hugged her toy so tight it might tear. Jack stood still, praying the officer wouldn't hear her small heartbeat. After a long, painful moment, the scanner turned green. "No life forms besides you," the officer said. Jack almost collapsed with relief. The officer turned toward the door, then stopped. His eyes drifted to the floor, straight toward a tiny piece of cloth, a thread from Leary's toy. The officer stepped forward. Jack's heart hammered. The secret was seconds away from exposure. The officer stared at the small thread on the floor, one single loose strand from Leary's toy. It looked harmless, tiny, almost nothing. But to Jack, It felt like a countdown to disaster. The officer bent down slowly and picked it up between two fingers. What's this? He asked. Jack forced a laugh, though his throat was tight. Old cloth from these junk crates. This place is full of trash. The officer rubbed the thread, studying it with cold eyes. Jack could feel sweat sliding down his back. Behind the crates, Leary trembled, her tiny breath held in her chest. The officer looked around again. His scanner beeped once, then went silent. He stepped closer to the crates. Sir, Jack said quickly, you mind stepping out? I still have work to finish. The officer didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on the crates as if he sensed something alive behind them. Jack's heart hammered. He couldn't let the officer take even one more step, so he did the only thing he could. He dropped the toolbox in his hand loud. The noise echoed like a gunshot. The officer spun around. What are you doing? Sorry, Jack muttered. Clumsy today. The officer scowled. You better keep this place organized. Next time we'll do a full search. He pocketed the small thread, turned, and walked out the door. Jack closed it behind him and locked it quickly, the moment the latch clicked. His body sagged like he had carried a ton of weight. Iri crawled out from behind the crates, still shaking. What if he comes back? Jack kneeled to her level. He won't, but we must move before someone else checks this place. She nodded slowly, eyes still wide. The toy in her hands looked even smaller now, like something fragile in a brutal world. Jack looked at her injuries again. She needed medical help, but the real problem wasn't her bruises, it was her mother.
She pointed toward the horizon, toward the dark area of the moon where acid storms often formed, far in the toxic zone. Jack frowned. Why are your people living there? Because the overseers pushed us, she said. They said humans don't care where we live. They said we must stay out of sight. Jack felt anger burn again. That's not true. Leary looked at him with tired eyes. Then why does no human stop them? Jack didn't have an answer. The truth hit him hard. Humans did know about the overseer's cruelty. They just pretended not to. He stood up. He had already broken one rule by hiding Leary. If he returned her to the overseers, she would be punished her worse. If he tried to help her mother, he would become a criminal. What do you want to do, Jack? He asked himself quietly. Leary tugged gently at his sleeve. Human Jack, will you help my mother? She is all I have. Jack looked at her. A child with nothing except hope left inside her. A child willing to trade her only toy for medicine. He couldn't let her go alone. He went to the back of the storage room and opened a hidden compartment. Inside was his old rover, small, dusty, half broken. He had been repairing it for months. Secretly, Leary tilted her head. What is that? Our chance, Jack said. We'll take this to your colony. She gasped softly. But humans are not allowed there. He smiled a little. Seems like today, I'm not very good at following rules. She didn't understand the joke, but she smiled anyway, a small, soft smile, full of gratitude and fear. Jack grabbed a backpack and began filling it. Water, thermal blankets, emergency lights, food bars, and most importantly the painkillers she needed. As he packed, Leary whispered, "Why are you helping me? Humans never help us." Jack stopped. He looked at her with a seriousness she had never seen. Because someone has to. And right now, that someone is me. She hugged her toy closer. Jack opened the back door. Cold wind rushed in. The sky above the toxic zone glowed faint green from chemical clouds. The path ahead looked dangerous, maybe deadly, but he didn't turn back. "Stay close," he said. "We move fast." Leary stepped out beside him. Jack locked the storage building behind them for the first time. He wasn't thinking about rules or orders or punishment. He was thinking about a mother in pain, a child fighting for her only family, and a colony suffering in silence. Jack Turner had just made an unthinkable choice. He didn't know it yet, but this one decision would change not only Leary's life, it would change the fate of two species. Jack and Leary reached the rover hidden behind the storage bay. The machine looked like an old metal beast, scratched, dented, and patched with different colored plates. But the engine was strong. Jack had repaired it with stubborn patience over many months, even though he had no real reason to keep it. Now he finally had a reason. "Get in," Jack said gently. "Lir." I climbed inside the rover, sitting close to the window and hugging her toy to her chest. Her feet barely touched the floor. Jack sat beside her, turned the ignition, and the rover growled awake with a shaky rumble. The moment the wheels touched the open road, Jack felt the weight of his decision settle on his shoulders. They were leaving the safe zone, leaving the lights, leaving human law behind. The path ahead led to the forbidden toxic zone, a place most humans feared. He glanced at Leary. She stared straight ahead, eyes full of quiet courage. "Are you scared?" Jack asked softly. "Yes," she whispered, "but fear is normal. My people say fear means you have something to protect." Jack nodded. "Your mother, and now, you too," she added shyly. Jack didn't know what to say to that. The rover rolled over the rough terrain. Rocks cracked under the wheels. Dust rose in light clouds. The night sky glowed faintly green from chemicals drifting above the toxic lands. It was beautiful in a strange, deadly way. As they drove, Leary spoke again. "Human Jack, can I ask something strange?" "Sure. Why do humans make rules? If rules hurt innocent people?" Jack sighed. Her question cut deeper than she knew. "Rules aren't supposed to hurt people," he said slowly, "but sometimes the wrong people enforce them." She stared at him for a moment, trying to understand. Then she nodded, though she didn't seem fully convinced. After half an hour of silence, the rover shook violently. "Hold on," Jack shouted. A small groundquake tremored beneath them. Cracks opened on the path ahead. The toxic zone was unstable, full of mining tunnels, gas pockets, and dangerous sinkholes. Leary grabbed his arm, eyes wide. "Are we going to die?" "Not today," Jack said, steering sharply. He managed to keep the rover balanced and pushed forward. The quake passed. Leary slowly released his arm, but her hands still trembled. To distract her, Jack asked, "Tell me about your mother. What's she like?" Leary's face softened. "She is strong, stronger than anyone. She used to sing to me. We don't have music anymore, but I remember her voice." Jack felt something tighten in his chest. "Does she know you came to find help?" he asked. Leary shook her head. "No, she was asleep, but she would want me to try." Jack nodded. A little girl willing to cross dangerous land alone, just to bring her mother medicine. That wasn't weakness. That was bravery beyond measure. The rover climbed a slope now. On top of the hill, Jack saw at the edge of the forbidden zone. The land beyond was different. Dark, muddy, full of abandoned structures and broken machines. Smoke rose from distant pits. Metal towers from old mining rigs leaned sideways like dead giants. "Lir," I whispered. "This is home." Jack felt a sting in his heart. No child should call such a place home. But before he could reply, a sharp noise pierced the night. Beep, beep, beep. Jack looked at the rover's screen. A red dot flashed on the radar. Something was following them. "What is that?" Leary asked. Jack zoomed in. A drone. Not any drone. A human patrol drone. "It must have tracked us," Jack muttered. "Maybe from the officer earlier." The drone was much faster than their old rover. It hovered half a kilometer behind them, lights blinking like icy blue eyes in the dark. "Will it catch us?" Leary whispered. Jack gripped the controls. "Not if I can help it." He pressed a button. The rover's engine roared louder, pushing its limit. Leary held onto her seat as the vehicle jumped forward over rocks and broken roads. The drone pursued. The chasing lights grew brighter. Closer, closer. Then a sudden acid mist rolled across the path, thick green and burning. "Cover your mouth," Jack shouted. The rover entered the fog. The drone followed, then jerked wildly as the mist interfered with its sensors. It crashed into a rusty tower with a metallic scream and exploded. Leary gasped. "It's gone." Jack breathed out hard. For now. They drove out of the mist, coughing slightly. The fog burned the throat, but not enough to kill. Ahead, through the drifting smoke, faint lights appeared, small fires, flickering beside broken shelters. Leary pointed. "My colony," she whispered. Jack slowed the rover. He could already feel eyes watching them from the shadows. Scared eyes, hungry eyes, eyes that had lost hope long ago. Jack Turner had entered the forbidden zone, but what he would find inside would change everything he thought he knew about the overseers, and about humanity itself. The rover rolled slowly into Leary's colony, its headlights cutting through the green mist. Jack had seen rough places before, abandoned stations, broken mining camps, damaged outposts, but nothing prepared him for this. The colony looked like a graveyard that was still breathing. There were small huts made from scrap metal. Some had collapsed. Some leaned sideways like tired skeletons. Fires burned in small pits to keep the freezing toxic wind away. Smoke rose into the night, mixing with chemical fog. Shapes moved inside the shadows, thin bodies, quiet footsteps, weak voices. As Jack stopped the rover, dozens of alien eyes appeared from behind broken walls. Their faces were hollow. Their skin had strange grey patches, maybe from poison or hunger. Their bodies were so thin Jack felt his heart break just looking at them. Leary opened the door before the rover even stopped. "Mother," she cried, running toward one of the shelters. Jack followed her, but slowly. Many aliens watched him with fear, confusion, and something else. Almost hope. He reached the shelter where Leary had gone. Inside, the air was heavy, warm from a tiny heater, and filled with a sour smell of sickness. Leary was kneeling beside a weak figure lying on a rough bed. Her mother. Jack stepped closer, and the sight froze him. Leary's mother was barely conscious. Her skin was pale silver with a sick yellow tone. Her breath came in short, painful gasps. Her arms were bruised old marks, new marks, some still bleeding. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment and saw Jack, a stranger, a human. Fear filled her face. "Mother, no," Leary whispered, touching her gently. "He is here to help. He brought medicine." Jack kneeled down and slowly opened the bag. He pulled out the painkillers and a small injector to help her breathe easier. Leary's mother shook her head weakly. "Humans do not help us." Jack felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Some do," he whispered. "Let me try." She didn't trust him, but she was too weak to fight. Leary held her mother's hand as Jack injected the medicine carefully. The effect wasn't instant, but her breathing slowly eased, and some color returned to her face. Leary's eyes filled with tears. "You saved her." "Not yet," Jack said quietly, "but this gives her a chance." A small crowd of aliens had gathered outside the shelter, watching. Jack felt their eyes studying him, unsure if he was friend or enemy. Then an older alien stepped forward. His face was thin, but his posture was proud. "You are human," the elder said. "Why come here? Why help the child?" Jack stood, unsure how to answer, because nobody else did. The elder nodded slowly, almost respectfully. "Then you are not like the others." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" The elder gestured for him to follow. Leary stayed with her mother while Jack walked outside. The elder led him toward the edge of the colony, to an area Jack had not seen before, a fenced zone made of scrap and wire. Inside were piles of bodies. Alien bodies. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Jack felt his breath stop. Some were old and dried. Some were fresh. Most were thin, broken, bruised, like they had been worked until they died. "Who did this?" Jack whispered, horrified. "The overseers," the elder replied. "They work us until our bones break. If we cannot stand, they throw us aside." Jack's fists tightened. "Humans don't know?" Jack asked. The elder looked at him sadly. "Some humans know. They take money from the overseers. They sign papers. They look away." Jack felt sick, angry, betrayed. He stared at the fence. Again, bodies, lives, stories, all thrown away like trash. The elder leaned closer and whispered something that made the air colder around Jack. "The overseers are planning a purge. They will remove the weak. Soon, maybe tonight." Jack felt panic rise in his chest. Leary's mother, the colony, these people, they were running out of time. He turned sharply. "Where are the overseers now?" "East side," the elder said, "in the metal fortress, heavily guarded." Jack took a deep breath. His heart pounded. His mind raced. He had medicine for one, but he couldn't save them all like this. He needed something bigger, something dangerous, something unthinkable. For the first time since he stepped into the Forbidden Zone, Jack felt his purpose burning like fire inside him. He wasn't here only to help Leary. He was here to fight. Jack stood at the edge of the colony, staring at the metal fortress glowing in the distance. Acid clouds slid across the sky above it, giving the whole structure a sick green shine. That was where the overseers lived, safe, fed, armed, and protected, while the aliens in the colony starved and died. Leary stood beside him, holding her mother's hand. The medicine had helped, but not enough. Her mother's breaths were still weak. "Will the overseers come tonight?" Leary asked softly. Jack nodded. "The elder thinks they will. They call it a purge." Leary shivered. "They will kill the weak first. That means my mother." Jack felt anger rise like fire inside him. It wasn't quiet anger anymore. It wasn't "this is unfair" anger. It was something hotter, sharper. It was war anger. He turned to the elder, who stood behind them with several other colonists. How many overseers are there in the fortress? 20, the elder said. And many machines. Machines, Jack repeated. Yes. Weapons, drones, electric nets. The elder paused. They do not expect a fight. We are too weak. Jack looked around at the colony, thin faces, shaking hands, tired eyes. Weak, maybe, but weak people can still stand up, if someone helps them believe they can. We're not fighting them alone, Jack said. We're fighting them together. The colonists exchanged confused looks. Leary tilted her head. Together, like a team. Jack smiled faintly. Exactly. He went back to his rover, reached under the seats, and pulled out a small metal case. Inside were tools, cutters, wires, batteries, soldering pens. He didn't have much, but he had enough to cause trouble. He set the tools on the table. The colonists gathered round. Jack grabbed a broken mining tool from the ground. Can I use this? The elder nodded. It no longer works. Jack smirked. It will. He started opening the machine, removing its ruined parts, replacing them with batteries and wires. The colonists watched in silence as Jack transformed the broken mining tool into a small explosive charge. Leary gasped. Human Jack, you make weapons. Jack shook his head. I make distractions. Big ones. One colonist stepped forward. We can help. We have old mining carts. Jack's eyes lit up. Do the carts still move? Only downhill, the colonist said. Jack grinned. Perfect. He spent the next hour working with the aliens. For the first time in years, the colony felt alive. They gathered scrap metal, old belts, broken engines, even rusted pipes. Jack showed them how to attach small explosive charges, how to create noisemakers, how to build smoke bombs from chemical dust. Leary watched the whole time, her eyes shining with something Jack hadn't seen before. Hope. When everything was ready, Jack gathered the colony in a circle. We're not fighting to win a war, he said. We're fighting to survive tonight. To protect your families, to protect your future. The elder nodded. We will stand. Jack looked at Leary's mother, who lay inside the shelter. She opened her eyes weakly and whispered, Thank you, human. Jack felt something warm inside his chest. Rest. We'll handle the overseers. Then the alarm sounded. A deep metal horn echoed across the toxic zone. Leary grabbed Jack's arm. They're coming. Good, Jack said. Let's greet them. The 80 Tysakatha overseers marched toward the colony, tall alien figures, wearing dark armor and carrying electric spears. Behind them rolled a heavy drone cart covered in metal spikes. They expected a silent colony. They got Jack. He signaled the first group. 3 colonists pushed an old mining cart down the hill. It rolled fast, sparks flying, and hit a rock, triggering the first charge. Boom! A blast of dust and sound exploded right in front of the overseers. They stumbled back, confused. Jack launched the next surpriser pipe that fired chemical smoke. Thick gray fog spread over the ground. The overseers shouted in their harsh language, waving their spears wildly. The colonists began throwing stones and metal scraps from the shadows. Jack ran into the fog, carrying a noise bomb. He threw it near the drone cart. Crack, crack, crack. The noise echoed like gunfire. The drone panicked and spun in a circle, crashing into 2 overseers. Chaos erupted. The elder shouted, Push them back. The colony, once starving and hopeless, now moved like a rising storm. They hit from all sides. They weren't strong, but they were many, and they were fighting for their lives. One overseer rushed at Jack with an electric spear. Jack dodged, grabbed a broken pipe, and struck the overseer's knee. The alien fell, and Jack knocked the spear away. Leary threw a stone with all her strength. It hit the overseer's head. Jack grinned. Nice shot. She grinned back. Mother taught me. The overseers were losing control. Their machines malfunctioned. Their drones crashed. Their formation broke. Finally, the overseer leader screamed a command, and his troops retreated back toward the fortress. The colony erupted in exhausted cheers, but Jack knew it wasn't over. He looked at the fortress glowing in the distance. They will come again, he said, stronger, with real weapons. The elder nodded. We cannot survive another attack. Jack took a deep breath. Then we won't wait for them, he said. Leary stepped close. What do we do? Jack pointed at the fortress. We end this, tonight. The night was darker than any before. Toxic clouds hid the moons, and the wind carried the smell of metal and storm. The overseer fortress glowed like a burning eye in the distance. Silent, cold, watching. Jack stood at the front of the colony, checking the last of the tools and wires he carried. They were not real weapons, just traps, tricks, and fragments of machines he had rebuilt. But tonight, they would have to be enough. Leary walked to him, holding a small glowing stone. "For luck," she said softly. Jack knelt and smiled. "Is it special?" She nodded. "My father gave it to me. He said, it protects the brave." Jack closed her hand around it. "Then you should keep it. You are braver than me." Leary blushed, then ran back to her mother's side. The elder stepped up. "The colony is ready. They know this is our last chance." Jack looked at the tired but determined faces around him. Children stood beside parents. Old ones leaned on sticks. Every one of them carried something: stone, pipe, scrap metal, anything that could help. They weren't soldiers, they were survivors. And tonight, survivors would fight like an army. Jack raised his hand. "We leave in 5 minutes. Stay quiet, stay close, and no matter what happens, don't lose hope." The colonists nodded, fear mixing with fire in their eyes. The march began. The Fort Cesta Overseer Fortress towered over the metal walls. Sharp fences, watchlights sweeping like hungry eyes. Machines hummed inside. Distant voices echoed through the air, harsh and cruel. Jack whispered, "They are preparing stronger weapons." The elder pointed at a row of large containers stacked outside the wall. "Those hold plasma rods. If they use them, the colony will burn." Jack's stomach tightened. "Then we destroy them first." He gave hand signals. The colonists spread out in the shadows like silent ghosts. Jack moved toward the containers with 3 young aliens who carried the explosive charges he had built. One of them whispered, "Will this work?" Jack exhaled slowly. "It has to." They placed the charges between the containers and stepped back. A sudden alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the fortress. "We've been seen," one colonist shouted. Overseers poured out like an angry flood, spears glowing with electric light. "Fall back," Jack yelled, but it was too late. The overseer leader appeared, tall, armored, holding a long shock spear that crackled like lightning. His voice boomed across the ground. "You dare resist us? You dare raise your hands against your masters?" Jack stepped forward. "They're not your slaves. Not anymore." The leader roared and charged. Jack slammed his hand on the trigger. The charges exploded, shaking the ground. The container row blew apart in a wall of fire. Plasma rods burst like fireworks, filling the air with blue sparks. The overseers stumbled, blinded by the flash. "Now!" Jack screamed. The colony struck. The Battle of the Broken Escawit was chaos fast, loud, and terrifying. But the colonists fought like people who had already tasted death and refused to accept it again. They threw stones, metal scraps, anything they could grab. Jack moved through the smoke, hitting overseers with pipes, dodging spears, setting off noise bombs. Each explosion confused the armored aliens more. Leary ran beside him, small but fierce. She hit an overseer's foot with a metal rod, making him stumble into another colonist's trap. Jack grabbed her arm. "Stay behind me." "No," she shouted. "This is my home too." Together they pressed forward. The elder led a group that pushed the overseers toward the burning ruins of the plasma containers. Fire lit the battlefield in blue and orange. Shadows danced like angry spirits. For the first time, the overseers looked afraid. Then the leader screamed a command, and a massive drone machine rolled out from the fortress, a giant metal crawler with spinning arms and shock cannons. The colonists froze. Jack whispered, "Oh no." The crawler aimed at the crowd. Jack grabbed Leary and shoved her behind a wrecked container. "Stay down." The crawler charged its cannon. Electric light built upright, deadly. Jack sprinted toward it. "Human Jack!" Leary cried. He didn't stop. He climbed the side of the crawler, dodging spinning blades. Sparks cut across his arms. He pulled wires, ripped open panels, kicked the machine's joints. The crawler shook violently, trying to throw him off. Jack found the power core, a glowing blue sphere. He grabbed a metal rod. "Come on, please, work." He smashed the rod into the core. Crack! The crawler screamed like a metal beast and exploded in a burst of light. Jack flew backward, crashing onto the dirt. Everything went silent. Leary ran to him. Jack, wake up." Jack groaned. "Still alive, I think." Around them, the colonists cheered as the overseers panicked and ran back into the burning fortress. The elder shouted, "They are fleeing. We have one." Jack tried to stand but fell to one knee. Leary held him up. The fortress walls collapsed behind them, flames rising into the dark sky. The overseers were gone. The colony was free. The aftermath as dawn slowly broke. The wind calmed, and the toxic clouds drifted away. For the first time, sunlight touched the colony. Leary's mother stepped out of the shelter, weak but standing. She looked at Jack and whispered, "You saved us." Jack shook his head. "No, we saved us." Leary smiled, her eyes bright with pride. "Human Jack, what will you do now?" Jack looked at the rising sun. "Help rebuild," he said, "and then maybe go home." Leary held his hand tightly. "You will come back." Jack smiled. "Yes, because now, you're my family too." The colony cheered around them, celebrating freedom under the open sky, and thus ended the night. The weak rose up, and the oppressors fell.